Hi. So you are doing so well for following every lesson up until this point, and I say congratulations on doing that. Okay. So we're done with the while loop. The other loop that we are supposed to talk about is the for loop. Okay. So the while loop keeps looping while the condition is true, right? So as long as some condition that you're talking about is true, you keep on executing a particular block of code for some number of times until that condition becomes false. Right, that's a while loop. Now, on the for loop, it just allows you to be able to compute or run a particular block of codes for a given number of times. So maybe if I want to run a given line of code for 10 times, I have to use a for loop. Of course, you can use a while loop as well, but the for loop is very well designed for such a task. Okay. All right. So what goes in the for loop? To write a for loop, we need the following. We need the for keyword, the variable name, the in keyword, the range method with up to 3 integers passed to it. That is, we have to get a start, where we are starting, the stopping point, and then the step, right? And a colon. Normally, that's what happens to a flow control chart, right? So everything will be ended with a colon, and then we have an indented block of codes called the for clause. Okay, so this is what I mean. Let's say I want to run a particular line of code 5 times. Okay, so let's say if I want to do that, I have to start with the for keyword, right? For, then we need a variable name. We can call it anything. We can call it maybe for variable or var in, right? So we need an in keyword, then range, right? Now I want to start from 0 and end at 5. Or we can, if I say range 5, it means I'm going to run whatever block of code that I'll write 5 times. And then we have a colon. Then the next thing is the indented block of code. Or yeah. So I want to print I love data science. Okay, this is what I want to print, and I want to say times how many times. I want to write the times here, and here let me use the f print, which will allow us to use integers in the same line with the strings. Okay, sorry, var is the variable in the range. I will explain everything that I'm doing here. So this is what this code is telling us. For var, which is the variable in range 5, so the range 5, when you write, if I do write range 5, right, if I want to print this, let me see how. If you print this one, the range is starting from 0 and then it will end at 5, right? We can get it as a list. If you pass it as a list to this, we'll see the whole range. The range is starting from 0, right? If I do that, I have 0 to 5. And if you know Python very well, what this does is that you're going to start counting from 0 and then it will end at 4. It doesn't include the last number. Okay, so if I say for var in range, it's going to start from 0, 1, 2. So for every number in that range, 0, when you pick 0, it should print this. When you pick 1, it should print whatever I have there. So for, if I pick 0 is the first number in that range, 1 will be the second one, 2 will be the third one, 3 will be the fourth, and then 4 will be the fifth one. Okay, so if I run this code, I should be able to see this printed 5 times. I love data science 0. I love data science times 1, right? So I have all of these. Okay, so what this whole thing is trying to tell us is that we are able to compute or run this line of code for 5 consecutive times, right? Using the for loop and the range method. Okay, at times you want to make some calculations using the for loop as well. Suppose I want to add all the numbers from 1 to 10. I can use a for loop for this, okay? So to add something, let's assume that the original sum that we had is 0, right? Let's assume that the original sum that we have, so maybe let me call that variable sum is equal to 0. And then I'm going to use a for loop for, let's say, I in range 10 or maybe 11, because I want to add so here I have to specify I want to add from 1 to 10, right? So I want to start from 1, that is the starting point, and then the end point is 11, right? If you remember, the range method takes a start, the stop, that is the end point, and then the step. The step here means that when it starts from 1, what should be the increment? Right, so if I add the step to be 1, it means it will increase from it will increase by 1. So I start from 1, I go to 2, I go to 3 and 4 and the rest. Okay, if I don't add it, it means Python will understand that your step is 1. Okay, for I in this range, I'm going to say that total, or maybe sum, is equal to sum plus 1, right? What this whole thing is trying to say is that for every one you pick, every element you pick in this range from 1 to 10, because I know 11 here will not be added to the whole range. Remember that, right? Python doesn't add the last one. So from 1 to 10, the original sum I had should be equal to, sum plus I, right? It should be equal to the previous sum we had plus this I in this range. So if we take I to be 1, you're going to be like, the original sum was 0, so I'll add 0 to 1, right? So I'll have 1. Now when I is equal to 2, now the new sum that we'll get will be 1, right? So when I'll add 1 to 2, like that, okay? And before that, we can actually print this and see how it looks like. So if I want to add all the numbers from 1 to 10, right? We can print everything, plus 4, plus 5, plus 6, plus 7, plus 8, plus 9, right? So we can print this. So when this I here, what it means is these numbers, 1, 2, so I can take 1, it can be 2, it can be 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, all the way to 10, right? So for every I you pick, so if you run this line, what is the total? It's going to be 55. Right, and we are saying that to do this is going to be complicated. Some of the codes will run or loop over maybe thousands of data points that you have, and we don't have access to do everything one after the other. So if you're able to just use the for loop, it can help us to run this, do everything very fast without knowing everything in that range. Okay, so if I print, so when the for loop is done, I'm going to print the sum. If I print this sum, I should be able to see 55, okay? And we have 55, right? So it means that we use the for loop to run or to compute a particular block of code for some specific number of times, okay? So it's one of those things that you can do. Now, if let's say I want to print all the even numbers between 0 and 10, right? Let's say if I want to print, so for I, normally I use I in range, I want the even number, so 0, that's the 0, I'm starting from 0, I'm ending at 10, between 0 and 10, right? I mean from 0 to 10, so then I should end at 11. Then what is the step? The step is going to be 2, right? At every, so I pick 0, then I'll add 2 to it, I will go by 2, and I'll go by 4 and the rest. Okay, I want to print I. Okay, so if I run this, I should see 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Okay, so that's how I use the for loop. You're going to use the same for loop to write the game we've been writing for this whole flow control codes I've been writing. Okay, so in this, we know the guessing game already. There's a guess. The number game. So I have all the code explained here in our previous two lessons. You have a secret number which utilizes the randint method in the random package or module, where Python will randomly select a number between 1 and 20, and then your guess here. What I'm using the for loop for here is that I'm using the for loop to give you the chance to guess 6 times in order to be able to get the exact number Python got or picked in the random package. Okay, so let's say if Python picked 5, you have 6 chances to come up with 5, so that the code will tell you that indeed you guessed my number right or something. So like I said, we know how to run all this code. The only thing that changed here is the for loop side. Okay, so the for loop here is only giving us access to be able to run this code or play this game 6 times. Okay, so you can go through the code lines. Like I said, since we've done this in our previous two lessons, I'm not going to explain much. I'm going to run it and see how it works. Okay, so I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 20. Take a guess, and then our first thing to do is to type a number. If I type 3, so there's a part of the code that says that your guess is too low. Take a guess again. So remember, I've taken the first guess, so I have 5 more chances to go. Now, if I can pick 10, then I'm still told that it's too low, so it means that it's never below 10, right? So then if I pick, let's say 14, it's too high. Then it means I have a clue that it's maybe between 11, maybe from 11 to 13. So if I pick 11, it's a good job. You guess my number in 4 guesses, right? So this game is giving us access to be able to guess it in 6 consecutive times. And at the end, if you are not able to guess it in 6 times or 6 chances, then it will print that nope, the number I was thinking was, and Python will display whatever number it was thinking of. Okay, so take your time to go through the for loop. Here you can add more things to this code, where maybe after each guess you inform the player that, hey, you have this number of chances left, right? You can actually do those things as well. All right, in our next lesson we're going to talk about functions, which will be the last thing we talk about in the Python basics, and then we start NumPy and then pandas and matplotlib for data visualizations. Okay, all right, see you in our next lesson.